quite a number. Well, the honourable member says it's communication, but we'll hold on a bit.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Leader of the majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, November 8th, 2017. The list of nominees to 21 National Constituency Development Fund committees from the National Government Constituency Development Fund Board. 2 annual report and financial statements of the Victim Protection Board in the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice for the financial year 16-17. 3 annual report and financial statements of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission for the year 2016, and the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements in respect of the following constituencies for the year that ended 30th June 2016, and the certificate therein. Mwatate constituency, Ndia constituency, Kinangop, Kandara, Thika Town, Laikipia East, Gatundu North, Lari constituency, Naivasha, Kieni, Garsen, Marakwet West, Anaik Boy constituency, Tarbo constituency, Moiben constituency, Keyo South constituency.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Leader of majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That acknowledging that the East African Legislative Assembly, EALA, is established under Article 9 of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East Africa Community as one of the key organs and institutions of the community responsible for the community's legislative matters. Recognizing that Article 50 of the treaty provides for the election of the members of EALA by respective partner states' legislature in accordance with their parliamentary procedure for a term of 5 years. Further aware that the East African Legislative Assembly Election Act 2011 contemplates the conclusion of the election of the members of a new assembly to be within 90 days before the expiry of the term of the subsisting assembly. Recalling that the process of electing new members to the East African Legislative Assembly was commenced by the 11th Parliament in April 2017, but could not be concluded by the end of the term of that Parliament. Noting that the term of the previous of Parliament to undertake the functions contemplated under the East African Legislative Assembly, in bracket, election of the members of the election rules 2017, and report to the House within the timelines stipulated in the said rules, and that A, the Office of the Clerks of the House of Parliament provides secretariat services in accordance with the standing orders.
So it is good that everybody gets that warning in good time, so that people don't come to plead with me here that they have forgotten their cards in some place where they may have, you know, you are encouraged to carry your card every time while you sleep and you are into your offices. Sometimes people forget their cards in various places. So even while you go to relax in the evenings, please make sure your card is safe. Honorable Kamket, proceed.
Much obliged, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, which is that aware that the national security, peace, and stability are fundamental to the country's national economic and social development. Further aware that peace and stability in Laikipia County and neighboring counties is under threat from insecurity arising from escalating and recurring cases of conflict between private ranchers, conservationists, and farmers on one hand, and herders on the other. Establish a select committee to investigate and inquire into the circumstances and underlying issues behind the ongoing insecurity in Laikipia County, the conflict between ranchers and farmers, the herders in the county, the invasion of private ranches, farms, lodges, and conservation areas in the county, and consider and review all related findings and make recommendations and table its report within 90 days. And 2, approve the appointment of the following members to constitute the committee: the Honorable Major Retired Abdullah Bashir Haji MP, the Honorable Ahmed Kolosh MP, the Honorable Alfred Keter MP, the Honorable Ali Wario MP, the Honorable Caleb Kositany MP, the Honorable Charles Kilonzo MP, the Honorable Christopher Nakuleu MP, the Honorable Gabriel Tongoyo MP, the Honorable Joshua Kandiye MP, the Honorable Kanini Kega MP, the Honorable Kasait Kamket MP, the Honorable Kisang William MP, the Honorable Koros Kipsengeret MP, the Honorable Maison Leshomo MP, the Honorable Olago Alwoch MP, the Honorable Patrick Mariru MP, the Honorable Peris Tobiko MP, the Honorable Rahema Jaldesa MP, the Honorable Rindikiri Mugambi MP, the Honorable Dr. Robert Pukose MP, the Honorable Samuel Moroto MP, the Honorable Sarah Korere MP, and the Honorable Vincent Tuwei MP. I beg to give notice.
Leader majority.
Speaker, without saying nothing about my colleague, this motion, to my knowledge, has not been discussed by the House Business Committee. It's not been balloted. I only know of 2 motions which were discussed yesterday.
I thought it has been a very religious and faithful attendee of the chamber. Very well, that business is dropped. You give notice at some other time. Next.
Order number 7, statements. Order number 8.
Sorry, before we go to order number 8, allow me to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils from Bema Primary School, Nandi Hills constituency, Nandi County. They are welcome to observe the proceedings of the National Assembly. Honourable members, if those who are the mobile ones, whether in situ or in transition, if the mobile members, I am told there is something wrong on page 2. This is the correct one. The date on page 2 was wrong. If the member for Kieni could take a seat. The member for Kieni, if you could take your seat. Honourable members, I wish to make this short communication regarding the East African Legislative Assembly EALA Games to be held in the United Republic of Tanzania from the 1st to the 11th of December 2017. Honourable members, the East African Community Interparliamentary Games were established by a resolution of the 4th East African Community Legislatures Speakers Forum held in the year 2009 in Arusha, Tanzania. The meeting resolved to be holding interparliamentary games for the East African Community Partner States on an annual and rotational basis with the name of enhancing relations between the East African Community Legislative Assemblies, the Legislative Assembly and the parliaments of the East African Community Partner States, as envisaged in Article 49, Clause 2, Paragraph A of the East African Community Treaty. Now, members, Kenya was privileged to host the most recent edition of the Games in 2016 in Mombasa. This year's Games will be held in the United Republic of Tanzania from the 1st to the 11th of December 2017. Participants will compete in the following sports/stroke disciplines: 1, football; 2, volleyball; 3, netball; 4, athletics; 5, the tug of war; and 6, golf. Honourable members, without anticipating debate on the motion for alteration of the calendar of the House, which is likely to see the House proceeding on recess from today, Wednesday, November 8th, 2017, until Wednesday, November 29th, 2017, I urge members to take this opportunity to take part in the ongoing trainings in sports disciplines of their choice every Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Public Service Sports Club along Mara Road, Upper Hill, from 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. with a view to forming a team or teams that will represent the Parliament of Kenya in the Games. It is my desire to see Parliament of Kenya form formidable teams to win trophies, as has happened in the past. Your cooperation will be highly appreciated, and those that may not be aware, they could get in touch with the Honorable Atanas Misiko Wafula Wamunyinyi for further guidance. I thank you. Honorable Member for Kikuyu, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, of course, knowing very well I cannot be on a point of order on a communication that you are making. But in view, Mr. Speaker, of recent happenings between our good neighbors of the Republic of Tanzania, where, Mr. Speaker, in the recent past we have seen reports of cattle herders in Kajiado having their cattle confiscated and indeed auctioned in the Republic of Tanzania, Mr. Speaker. And in view of your communication on the ongoing East African Assembly sports and beseeching members of this House, Mr. Speaker, to participate in that sport, and if particularly mentioned the tug of war, and as much as the Honorable Wafula Wamunyinyi and the Honorable Olago Oluoch would come in handy in the tug of war, Mr. Speaker, I also feel that there's a hidden tug of war between the Republic of Tanzania and our herders from Kajiado County. And I say this, Mr. Speaker, sir, because I'm also aware a number of farmers, but I was on the point of saying that the Maasai community in the Republic of Kenya and the Maasai community in the Republic of Tanzania, Mr. Speaker, and even the cattle across the border, they do not know the boundaries and where the border between Tanzania and Kenya is. And therefore, is in bad faith, and we are not going to discuss the actions of a friendly government, Mr. Speaker, but I was only seeking your guidance whether this House could also consider, in solidarity with those cattle herders whose animals were auctioned, and it is not gainsaid, Mr. Speaker, that these animals were auctioned, and I've seen reports that the Kenyan taxpayer is now going to compensate the Maasai herders to the tune of almost 53 million shillings from our taxes. And this is cattle that was just auctioned in a neighboring country. Mr. Speaker, I would beseech you to ask the honorable members also, in that spirit of non-cooperation, to boycott these sports as a protest to the auctioning of those cattle and the shoving away of many of our farmers who had leased land and paying value in Tanzania to farm and get that produce across the border, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Well, I think we're not going to debate that issue because it is being handled diplomatically by the two governments. But of course, just for information, for those that may not be familiar with the games, the tug of war team from the Parliament of Kenya is actually led by none other than the indomitable, hardworking, Honorable Christopher Omulele, not the Honorable John Olago Oluoch. And they recently visited the Republic of Tanzania to assess the level of preparedness of that country to host. At least they have given that report. But maybe they will consider when they meet this Thursday morning to train whether your appeal may be tenable in the circumstances. But well, honourable members, let's not. I think the matter will be best dealt with diplomatically. Honourable members, just to draw your attention to the existence of a supplementary order paper, which is mainly as a result of certain businesses that were not concluded in the morning, to procedurally be dealt with this afternoon. We move to the next order.
Order number 8, adoption of sessional paper number 5 of 2016 on the National Climate Change Framework Policy. Question to be put.
Honourable members, business on this motion was concluded in the morning today, and therefore what remains is for me to put the question, which I hereby do, that this House adopts sessional paper number 5 of 2016 on the National Climate Change Framework Policy, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, October 11th, 2017. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next.
Order number 9, motion, approval of appointment of members to the Parliamentary Pensions Management Committee. Question to be put.
Member making your way, please take your seat. The member making your way, please take a seat. Take your seat. Honourable members, again, debate on this motion was concluded this morning, and what remained was for the question to be put, again, which I hereby do, that pursuant to the provisions of Section 19, subsection 1, paragraph C of the Parliamentary Pensions Act, Cap 196, and notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order number 173, subsection 1, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the Parliamentary Pensions Management Committee, in addition to those specified under Section 19(1). Number 1, the Honorable Dan Wanyama, MP. Number 2, the Honorable Rehema Dida Jaldesa, MP. And 3, the Honorable Andrew Mwandime, MP. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, adoption of sessional paper number 6 of 2016 on the National Urban Development Policy. Question to be put.
The vertically challenged member walking in, please just freeze. Again, what is, you can't just be laughing all the time. Honourable members, again, business on this motion was concluded in the morning, and what I have to do is to put the question that this House adopts session paper number 6 of 2016 on the National Urban Development Policy, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, October 11th, 2017. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
Order number 11, the Petroleum Exploration, Development and Production Bill, National Assembly Bill number 40 of 2017, first reading. a bill for an act of parliament to provide a framework for the contracting, exploration, development and production of petroleum, cessation of upstream petroleum operations, to give effect to relevant articles of the Constitution insofar as they apply to upstream petroleum operations and for connected purposes.
Next.
Order number 12, the Energy Bill, National Assembly Bill number 41 of 2017, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to consolidate the laws relating to energy, to provide for national and county government functions in relation to energy, to provide for the establishment, powers and functions of the energy sector entities, promotion of renewable energy, exploration, recovery and commercial utilization of geothermal energy, regulation of midstream and downstream petroleum and coal activities, regulation, production, supply and use of electricity and other energy forms, and for connected purposes.
Next.
Order number 13, the Nairobi Metropolitan Area Transport Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 43 of 2017, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to give
as a coalition and agree who becomes the captain for them in the House and their whips, and then we form together. So I think that's a very good indication. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the second members who are now serving second term, you remember the CDF allocation is done in tranches. And since we approved the budget in July, by now, close to 50% of the CDF allocation should have come to members' accounts. So upon approval of the list, and so far, Mr. Speaker, close to 95% of the constituencies committees are in place. We will approve this afternoon, and then the relevant board and the minister will gazette, and we expect the minister to release the money by the end of this week or early next week, so that members can have time and go now do the proper project, whether they want to change what their colleagues have submitted, or they want to go away with it, so they can have time to go and consult their new CDF board members. So that once we approve the names and they're gazetted, and then we will ask the board and the minister to release to those constituencies where the legal requirements and the approval of the House have been met. Mr. Speaker, the other main reason, of course, is some of us, we are back in the Supreme Court by some very, very busy bodies, but in the reading of the Constitution, they have all the right. So we want also to go and give support to our lawyers in court and also prepare for the swearing in the event those petitions are thrown away. So I think it's good, but I want to put a rider that I hope the letter that we have received from our colleagues NASA is binding, and when we resume, we establish the leadership and the committees at large. I'll ask Honorable Kimani Chunga to... Mr. Speaker, he was saying we should not go to Tanzania. He didn't tell us. I've never seen him participating in any game in the House. So as we deal with the issue of the cattle, and it is very good for members who play various games, that we go to Tanzania. So, Honorable Ichungwa, if you're not playing any game, you can be part of the cheering squad. I have been...
To make sure that they engage the members of the public in their constituencies on what kind of projects they do want to implement. And I would urge members, if the projects that you found your predecessors had put on this list, so long as they had involved the public and the people in formulating those projects that had already started, please allow them to continue to completion so long as those projects are going to serve the people of this great republic. Mr. Speaker, sir, as the majority leader has said, we also need time for those of us who want to support the petition cases in court, to have time to be able to attend not just to the issues in court, but to also pray for this nation, that this nation continues being cohesive and being together as a nation as we progress. And of course, finally, I want to also join the Leader of Majority in praying that our colleagues from the NASA coalition will be able within this short period to be able to have further consultations and agree on the leadership that they want in this House, and also for us as coalitions to agree on the membership of the various committees. You've had the many requests, Mr. Speaker, for select committees. If indeed we have these committees in this House, we may not necessarily require the calls for select committees to be appointed, Mr. Speaker, sir. Finally, just in answer to what the majority leader was saying, Mr. Speaker, I do play that game of tug of war, and that is why I was very particular on that, and another one called badminton, and another one, Mr. Speaker, called badminton. The majority leader might not know, he may not have played any of those games. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Very well, honourable members, I propose the question. It is that pursuant to the provision starting under number 28.4, this House resolves to alter its calendar for the first session of the Assembly 2017 as adopted on the September 27th, 2017 by proceeding for a further recess from Wednesday, November 8th today, 2017, and resuming its regular sittings on Wednesday, November 29th, 2017, and that at the appointed time, today, the House adjourns until the specified date. I put the question. That pursuant to the provision starting order number 28.4, this House resolves to alter its calendar for the first session of the Assembly 2017 as adopted on September 27, 2017 by proceeding for a further recess from Wednesday, November 4th today, 2017, and resuming its regular sittings on Wednesday, November 29th, 2017, and that at the appointed time today, the House adjourns until the specified date. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it.
Order number 15, motion, establishment of a parliamentary joint select committee on the election of members to the East African Legislative Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House establish a parliamentary joint select committee on the election of the members of the East African Committee, and that acknowledging that the East African Legislative Assembly, EALA, is established under Article 9 of the Treaty for the establishment of parliamentary procedures for a term of 5 years. Further, aware that the East Africa Legislative Assembly Election Act 2011 contemplates the conclusion of the election of the members of a new assembly to be within 90 days before the expiry of the term of the subsisting assembly. Recalling that the process started in the 11th Parliament in April 2017, but could not be concluded by the end of the term of that Parliament. Noting that the term of the previous East African Legislative Assembly lapsed on June 4th, 2017. And cognizant of the need to urgently conclude the business of the East African community, now therefore in accordance with the provisions of Rule 9 of the Houses of Parliament, joint sitting rules, the Houses of Parliament to undertake the functions contemplated under the East Africa Legislative Assembly election of members of the Assembly Rules 2017, and report to the House within the timelines stipulated in the said rules, and that the office of the two clerks of Houses of Parliament provide secretariat in accordance with the standing orders, and that the following members represent the National Assembly in the Joint Select Committee. The Honorable Katole Mitito, co-chairperson, the Honorable Jane Kiara MP, the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni MP, the Honorable Daniel Manzo MP, and the Honorable Florence Mutua MP. Speaker, you can see the goodwill is already coming from our brothers, NASA, that they have given us 2 members, Honorable Daniel Manzo and Honorable Florence Mutua. So Speaker, the history of the East African Legislative Assembly. The previous assembly ended in June 4th, and 90 days from that time, the 11th Parliament was to do this process and elect 9 members who will represent the 2 houses of Parliament in the EALA Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to go into the history of what happened then. Jubilee was supposed to provide 5. CORD then was supposed to provide 4 members based on parliamentary strength. But Mr. Speaker, our colleagues then in the 11th Parliament decided not to play by the rules. The rule says for each slot of the 9 members, the House must receive of 3 for each position. That is 27 members will be brought to the House for members to elect 9 members. But our colleagues said, no, the rule does not say that. We will bring 4 members, and our 4 members must be elected. And some of us felt that was like rubber stamping. That was like making members as a conveyor belt. Members must have a choice to choose. And that's why we brought back Honorable Katole Mitito, because in the previous joint committee, he was a member and he was a co-chair. The rest of the other members did not make it back to this House. So, Mr. Speaker, you know, God is great. Now, with the numbers the Jubilee Party has, because this will be based on parliamentary parties. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to go on record. Only 3 parties are parliamentary as per the standing orders and the Constitution. 3 parties. Because for you to be a parliamentary party, you must secure 5% of the numbers in the House. So, to be on the record, it is only Jubilee, ODM, and Wiper. Wiper survived by about 2 members. They were at the brink. So, by the grace of God, they survived. So there are many parties, but the only parliamentary parties who will and who by law can nominate. The Speaker, I can see Honorable Olago Alwoche, you know, shaking his hand. It is a reality. Sometimes the reality can down on you. That Ford Kenya is not a parliamentary party because it has not secured the required numbers in this House. Same for ANC, the same for many other parties. But we pray maybe one day you will be a parliamentary party. One day. You know, this is, parties are evolving. Maybe some ODM guys will join Ford Kenya. Yes. So, Mr. Speaker, those 3 parties now will share the 9 slots. Yes, they will share the 9 slots. And for us to share, and I want to go on record again because I have done my numbers, that out of the 9, Mr. Speaker, 6 of the slots belongs to the Jubilee Party. The other 3 can be shared in whatever way by the NASA coalition. They can decide all the 3 to go to ODM, or they go to Ford Kenya as a sister party, behaving very well, or they goes to Wiper. So our slots will be 6. And that's why, Honorable Speaker, you know, Honorable Junior should relax, because I have been really campaigning for him to be the minority whip. And it's not very far. He's about to, he's about to achieve, and he has all the character and the capacity and the intellect and the intelligence. I mean, there's nobody better than him. Compared to the list I saw, the people who are competing with him. So, Mr. Speaker, our share in this East Africa Assembly is 9. And Mr. Speaker, you know now, the bigger is 6. And the problem we had in the 11th Parliament, this thing was coming at the tail end of the Parliament, during the election. So it was very difficult, you know, to juggle between different regions. But now, we'll just call one PG, and we will give to men and women from our coalition who deserve. Of course, looking at the regional, gender, and of course, parties. Even our coalition, within our coalition, we have small parties. We will share with them our nine slots. And of course, 6 slots. And of course, the independents. So, Mr. Speaker, but one thing I want to make it very clear. Now we are in a very embarrassing situation. Speaker, the EALA Parliament cannot start. Because the rule says there that if one member state has not submitted its list, nominees, then even the Speaker cannot be elected. So in all the other countries, they have submitted the names. They are members of Parliament. They have not been sworn in. The Speaker has not been sworn in, has not been elected. And everybody coming from Arusha tells us, you guys, you're looking very bad. And because of, normal politics of Kenya, we are the first country that even, I think in the 9th Parliament that went to the East Africa Court of Justice. I remember Honorable Governor of Kisumu, Anyang' Nyong'o, was the first one that went to court in the 9th Parliament. So, Mr. Speaker, I think now the chain is set. The process is all on. Once we approve our members here, and our colleagues in the Senate approve another 5 members, the 10 members will sit. The process of advertising the positions will take place. And, Mr. Speaker, let it be on clear record that this matter now is being dealt by the 12th Parliament. The 11th Parliament went. The story of the 11th Parliament is gone. If you had 5 slots, you have now 6. If you had 4 slots, you have now 3. And the rules of the game will be as the amended rules that we did in the 11th Parliament. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I hope this process will come to an end, and we send our 9 members. And when they go to East Africa Legislative Assembly, they are not Jubilee, they are not NASA, they are not from any party. They represent the country called Kenya, and they represent the interests. So we are the voters. Those 9 members, their polling station is the chamber. Of this chamber, and the chamber is the Senate. And IBC is clerk. And there's no results transmission. And there's no going to Supreme Court here. If you are not happy, you go to the Supreme Court in Tanzania, the East Africa Court of Justice. And please do not bring your girlfriends. We want to tell the political parties, don't bring your relative, don't abuse your position you have in the party. If you are the party leader, don't bring your brother or your sister or your daughter or your son. Give to other Kenyans. I am sure Jubilee will give to people who are not related to William Ruto or Uhuru Kenyatta. I am sure of that. So let us use the party. Let's be very fair. You know, the Honorable Kikuyu, member for Kikuyu, is talking about member Honorable Oburu Odinga. Yes. You know, in last Parliament. We used to ask ourselves, under what category? So I'm hearing, I'm hearing he might find his way in here. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and ask Honorable Gikaria to second. Farmers. You to represent farmers.
Well, we always talk about complementary mechanism. I think we need to use some form of complementary mechanism. But just to inform the House that a member from one of the partner states has already gone to the East African Court of Justice seeking some redress against the Republic of Kenya as the storing party. Honorable Gikaria, proceed to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the establishment of a parliamentary joint select committee on the election of the members of the East African Legislative Assembly. Honorable members, just as the majority leader has just said, Mr. Speaker, I arise to, first of all, to to thank the NASA coalition. I just wish that this had started a long time ago so that we could have a parliament that has a program where NASA is cooperating now and being able to bring the nominees from NASA coalition. And I think it is important for this House. Mr. Speaker, you remember in the 11th Parliament, we had almost like 3 months. We operated here without committees, and it was very hard for us, especially the first-time members of Parliament, to be able to understand. But this has happened again, but I hope after the recess, then the NASA coalition will have brought its leadership in the House, and we can be able to move on with the matters that are brought before this House. Mr. Speaker, it's important for us to realize just before we went for recess, again, this House did approve a few East African protocols. And we had mentioned in that, during the debate of I think there were 2 protocols which were brought here for approval, that without our representative in EALA from Kenya, then all those protocols would be of no value to this country. So I think this select committee from the National Assembly and the Senate is going to work with speed and be able to give us the names so that we can be able to have our representative to the EALA. It's unfortunate that even now as we go to EALA, you have just mentioned, the EALA Assembly also has reps from Kenya, particularly for the games. It will be very unfortunate that we will be going to the games in Tanzania, and there will be no representative from Kenya. In the last parliament, we had unfortunately, they lost the running mate to Wavinya Ndeti, who was in that assembly, and really actually represented our country effectively in those games. So it's important for us to be able to get the importance of getting the representation and as Honorable Duale has just said, that is important for this House to follow the due process. In the 11th Parliament, Mr. Speaker, it is true that the Jubilee Coalition was supposed to have nominated only 5. But now, of course, because of the advantages of the numbers in the House, we have gotten an extra slot. And I hope that Jubilee, as Honorable Majority Leader just put it, they will be able to look across the whole country and be able to give, of course, on our side, we had some very, very notable nominees, very, very prominent Kenyans. As a coalition of Jubilee, we had given some names, proposals, and I hope, including the former clerk of this assembly, Honorable Mbundi, who was a nominee. And I hope the committee is going to critically look at that. Of course, not only to consider the past nominees, but also to look and to look at other players who have played a big, big role in supporting Jubilee to win the majority seats in Parliament and the Senate, and also the presidential election. So, Mr. Speaker, the names which have come from our side, I think they are credible and able members of Parliament who can be able to represent the Jubilee Coalition in this select committee. And we are hoping that also the Senate will move fast to be able to give their names so that the committee can be able to start. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I second.
that the East African Legislative Assembly, in brackets EALA, is established under Article 9 of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community. Key organs and institutions of the community responsible for the community's legislative matters. Recognizing that Article 50 of the treaty provides for the election of members of EALA by respective partner states' legislatures in accordance with their parliamentary procedures for a term of 5 years. Further aware that the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Act 2011 contemplates conclusion of the election of members of a new assembly to be within 90 days before the expiry of the term of the subsisting assembly, recalling that the process of electing new members to the East African Legislative Assembly was commenced by the 11th Parliament in April 2017, but could not be concluded by the end of the term of that Parliament, noting that the term of the previous East African Legislative Assembly lapsed on June 4th, 2017, cognizant of the need to urgently conclude the election process for the East African Legislative Assembly to commence transacting business of the East African community. Now, therefore, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 9 of the House of Parliament Rules, Joint Sittings, the House resolves to establish a Joint Select Committee consisting of 5 members from each of the Houses of Parliament to undertake the functions contemplated under the East African Legislative Assembly election, in brackets, election of members of the Assembly Rules 2017, and report to the House within the timelines stipulated in the same rules, and that A, the Office of the Clerks of Houses of Parliament provides secretarial services in accordance with the standing orders, and B, the following members represent the National Assembly in the Joint Select Committee. 1, the Honorable Kato Olemetito MP, co-chairperson. 2, the Honorable Jane Kihara MP. 3, the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni MP. 4, the Honorable Daniel Maanzo MP. 5, the Honorable Florence Mutua MP. The Honorable Member for Suna East, you seem to have forgotten that you put a card, not raise your hand.
Yes.
Especially when you are doing your second term. If you recall, the Honorable Member from South Mugirangwa used to remind everybody that he was doing his second term.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I'm seated next to my colleague from Suna West, and I was trying to tell him, don't raise your hand when you want to speak. I was not doing it myself. So I was just trying to do induction here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to support the motion, Mr. Speaker, in spite of the boycott. But this is a very important matter, Mr. Speaker. I decided to remain in the House and not to resist. But Mr. Speaker, the matter of the East African Assembly, Mr. Speaker, is a very important matter. That parliament has not been sitting because of the country, our country did not give the names of their members. Mr. Speaker, also one thing that may need arbitration or mediation going forward, Mr. Speaker, is the slots, Mr. Speaker. What we understand is that, Mr. Speaker, my side of the coalition, I mean of the opposition, need to get 4 slots, Mr. Speaker, and the majority party 5 slots, Mr. Speaker. But the majority leader has used his own discretion, Mr. Speaker, to divide the slots, and he's saying Jubilee will get 6, and NASA will get 3, Mr. Speaker, which is, numbers have not changed much, Mr. Speaker. Whereas the people have come here more in number, Mr. Speaker, than independents. Jubilee have still the same numbers they had in 2013, while NASA has the same number, Mr. Speaker. It's only people who got annoyed with those parties who have come here as independents in a bigger number, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the people we are going to bring as a coalition, Mr. Speaker, one of them, Dr. Oburu, Mr. Speaker, is a senior member of this society, Mr. Speaker. I saw the majority leader speaking about him. I had a sitting with him, majority leader, and we spoke about him, and he agreed to support him, Mr. Speaker. He has just said now here he's not going to support Dr. Oburu, Mr. Speaker. When I went to his office, agreed with him, and told him you must support that Daktari and he, Mr. Speaker, how can somebody be more biased than this, Mr. Speaker? I plead with him to change his mind, Mr. Speaker. Please, yeah, he has agreed, and we support the old man. Let him go to East African Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I can see I've gotten an approval already in advance from Jubilee, Mr. Speaker. I hope it's not going to change. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the issue of the composition of the committee, Mr. Speaker. We have 2 members there, Honorable Daniel Manzo and Florence Mutua, Mr. Speaker. We have not produced that as a coalition, but Mr. Speaker, I think you use your discretion as the Speaker of Parliament and put their name there, which we support, Mr. Speaker. Let them represent us in the committee, because this matter is very urgent matter, Mr. Speaker, that has been hanging here since last Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And if we get our 4 slots, Mr. Speaker, we will give 1 slot to Dr. Buru, another one to the Vice President's son, the other 2 we can check other Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, then we put them in the name, Mr. Speaker. It's good to be forthright, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to hide, Mr. Speaker, and those 2 people will have to get their slots as they were in the last Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, there's a member who's making noise here who's always dressed the same way, Mr. Speaker. I don't know how many suits of that nature he has, Mr. Speaker. Give me time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Honour members, I think, let me just bring you back to the House. Please, the motion is not about any names. The only names that are here are the members to the joint committee established by the rules which were made by this same House in concurrence with the Senate. And therefore, don't get excited about any names being mentioned. Yes. In fact, if you read through the rules, I don't know whether you pass those rules, it's like you did not even read them. They actually give the people applying opportunity to come and campaign. Have you forgotten what you passed? Some of you were in the 11th Parliament, including the Honorable Junet. So those people will come and campaign. No, you are not the ones to campaign. They are the ones to campaign. The Honorable Junet campaigned in Suna East and he was elected. So now he is an elector. You need to be, the voters are going to campaign to get Honorable Junet's vote. But of course, Junet is at liberty also to float names, although it is really, diversionally. You are moving away from the motion. Don't get excited. Even if you are the Honorable Junet mention names of people you may prefer. Who knows, they may not even apply. This is just but the beginning. The names that he may be mentioning, those people might not even be interested. Maybe their eyes are trained on bigger things and not the membership into EALA. So, but for now, Honorable Junet, let's just confine ourselves to the motion. And I also want to inform the House that the names which are here came from the already known leadership. So I'm very sure that that's why the Honorable Junet is comfortable with the names of the 2 nominees from his coalition. He knows the leadership that is generally consulted. Maybe very soon he might be part of that group. If he also does his work well and the campaigns. But maybe even now, maybe the Honorable Junet might be campaigning actually. So you never know. But so I don't want to ask the other members, please don't get excited, even including the Honorable Ole Sankok. Don't get worried about what the Honorable Junet says. No, he has not mentioned you. Even if he gets excited about your attire, don't worry. Maybe the Honorable Junet is actually admiring your attire, Honorable Sankok. Honorable Junet, you had a minute to complete your contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand guided, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I now support the motion, Mr. Speaker, and it's a very important motion, as I said, Mr. Speaker, that requires that we deal with it expeditiously, Mr. Speaker, and with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support.
I can see the member for Kajiado South is really eager to, Kajiado South, isn't it? Honorable Metito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this motion. And Mr. Speaker, ordinarily it will not be really nice for me to speak, being one of the proposed to be in the committee, especially the co-chair. But Mr. Speaker, when we just started our sittings this afternoon, I had my good friend, the member for Kikuyu, talking about our good neighbor, the Republic of Tanzania, auctioning some cattle. And actually, I thought, since they are from my constituency, this is the right motion to explain a bit about it. Mr. Speaker, let me just start and say, I was the co-chair of a similar motion in the last parliament, the 11th parliament, and I'm happy because we were able, as the 11th parliament, to clear some obstacles that really made it impossible for the 11th parliament to pass those names. Actually, one of them was the rules. There was some lacuna in the clarity of rules, whether you are supposed to present as a party the exact number that you are allocated to, or you are supposed to present up to a maximum of 3. And I think the 11th parliament, in its own wisdom, really cleared that. It's now clear that each party will submit 3 times the names or the slots they are allocated. So that one will not be an issue again. So what will be remaining for this House to do or to determine is through voting. And I would also still say, Mr. Speaker, that it is good we give Kenyans a fair platform for all of them to apply and try their luck. Otherwise, if we start by saying we have only 2 slots for other Kenyans because 2 are already predetermined, I think the public out there will say, why should I apply? And it's already decided, Mr. Speaker. So I think we should do it with the question. But Mr. Speaker, I wanted to say that the establishment of the East African community was actually meant to strengthen the ties between these partner states. And we are even now enlarging. It used to be 3 states, now there are about 6. It used to be Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. We have been joined by Rwanda, Burundi, and even South Sudan, Mr. Speaker. And I think that is where the whole world is moving, regional integration, Mr. Speaker. Even in this House, we have a committee on regional integration that expounds the need for removing barriers between these partner states, especially trade barriers. We should, the other objective is actually free movement of goods and services between the partner states. We also have actually to ensure that we have a borderless community, and ultimately we aim to have a political federation, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, but when we see one partner states trying to go against the very reasons, the grounds and the pillars of the establishment of this treaty, Mr. Speaker, one is left wondering if what caused the collapse of this East African community in 1977 is about to happen, Mr. Speaker, because some small issues, Mr. Speaker, that can be actually ironed out by the government administration agencies at the local level. The district commissioners, Mr. Speaker, should not at any time really go up to the level of the head of state, Mr. Speaker. When we talk of the pastoral life, pastoral is actually always in their own nature, promote regional integration, Mr. Speaker. You go to any border of this country where pastoralists really live, Mr. Speaker, and the other side, there is always that cross-border grazing, Mr. Speaker, and we receive different rainfall patterns, Mr. Speaker. And so when, in many cases, Mr. Speaker, Kenya is hosting the livestock from Tanzania because of this different rainfall pattern, Mr. Speaker, then when it is their turn that they have received rainfall, and we have actually been having a terrible drought in many parts of this country, it is not really wise for a partner state, especially the one that hosts, that has the headquarters of this East African community, because we all know that the headquarters of East African community is in Arusha, and then you see it is that partner state that is trying to block the free movement of goods and services between the partner states. I think it's not something good, Mr. Speaker. But all said and done, I want to thank the government of Kenya. I know they are doing something about it. Number two, I also want to appreciate the efforts of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of our country, that they did all the diplomatic means trying to sorting out and ironing out these issues at a very earlier stage. But they all failed. But I'm aware today as we speak, our Foreign Affairs Ministry has formally put a diplomatic protest against the treatment we are receiving from our partner state, Mr. Speaker. And that is not only between these pastoral issues, Mr. Even on a day-to-day basis, even at the borders of Namanga, the borders of Tarakia, the borders of Taveta, Mr. Speaker, our business people are not receiving the same treatment from the other side that we give the people from Tanzania, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, all said and done, I think we need to, these are challenges, but we have to move ahead. We should not be swayed. We should actually promote regional integration. And I think the establishment of that legislation, Mr. Speaker, will really help in fostering our
Honourable members, this member who is standing here, this one, you can't move from here, then you go there and start pretend to be talking. You know, you are in the National Assembly. Now, it's becoming like...
So, Mr. Speaker, I want to close my remarks by saying that we need to fast-track the passing of those names so that we, such issues which we are talking now can be ventilated in Arusha in that legislative organ of the East African community, and I beg to support.
Honourable members, those who are walking in or out, please do so. Just take a seat wherever. But all members, I wish to caution that after this motion, as you can see on the other paper, the other motion that follows is the one that deals with the approval of the names from the various constituencies. And like any other motion, there will be need for the House to resolve to approve. I'm saying this because I can see members walking in and walking out casually. So if you walk until you are below 50, when the House adjourns and there will be no resolution, you can only then blame yourselves. So especially those who represent what are popularly called single-member constituencies, it is in your best interest to stay put, even if you are in whatever frame of mind, including those who may be in some resistance of sorts. If you represent a single-member constituency and the list of your constituents who are supposed to be approved is here, you will be shooting yourself in the foot in the event that the list from your constituency is not approved. So even as you take advice from wherever, and I know there are many wise people that advise you, remember this is about yourself. So if the names from your constituency are not approved, don't come back crying that you are doing some other things in the village. Or you are in Jivaji Gardens or some other such like places. So please, this is why you are elected. If you come from the 290 single-member constituencies, it's in your best interest to ensure that, and if you know your names, the names of your constituents to be approved are in this list, and in the additional one which I have approved, then I think it's only fair that you pay attention. I get the indication from members that on this motion that I could put the question. That's the mood in the House. Very well. I therefore put the question that notwithstanding that the East African Legislative Assembly, EALA, is established under Article 9 of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community as one of the key organs and institutions of the community responsible for the community's legislative matters. Recognizing that Article 50 of the treaty provides for the election of members of EALA by respective partner states' legislatures in accordance with their parliamentary procedures for a term of 5 years. Further aware that the East African Legislative Assembly Elections Act 2011 contemplates conclusion of the election of members of a new assembly to be within 90 days before the expiry of the term of the subsisting assembly. Recalling that the process of electing new members to the East African Legislative Assembly was commenced by the 11th Parliament in April 2017, but could not be concluded by the end of the term of that Parliament. Noting that the term of the previous East African Legislative Assembly lapsed on June 4th, 2017, cognizant of the need to urgently conclude the election process for the East African Legislative Assembly to commence transacting business of the East African community, now therefore, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 9 of the House of Parliament, in brackets joint sittings rules, the House resolves to establish a joint select committee consisting of 5 members from each of the Houses of Parliament to undertake the functions contemplated under the East African Legislative Assembly election of members of the Assembly Rules 2017 and report to the House within the timeline stipulated in the same rules, and that A, the offices of the clerks of the House of Parliament provide secretariat services in accordance with the standing orders, and B, the following members represent the National Assembly in the Joint Select Committee. 1, the Honorable Kato Lemetito MP as COP chairperson. 2, the Honorable Jane Kiara MP. 3, the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni MP. 4, the Honorable Daniel Manzo MP. 5, the Honorable Florence Mutua MP. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the counter opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 16, motion, approval of nominees to various constituency committees of National Government Constituency Development Fund.
Well, I'll ask the leader of the majority party to table the fresh list that has come before moving the motion. Then it will move in a further amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to table 2 additional lists for nominees to the National Government Constituency Development Fund committees from the board. And these are constituency, Bureti constituency, Bomet Central constituency, Chapalungu constituency, Embakasi Central constituency, Gatanga constituency, Gatundu North constituency, Garsen constituency, Igembe North constituency, Karachuonyo constituency, Kiambaa constituency, Madare constituency, Lamu East constituency, Lamu West constituency, Loima constituency, Olkalau constituency, Turkana Central constituency, Turkana North, Wajir South, Wajir East, Wajir West, and further Embakasi East, Garissa Township, Narok North, Narok West, and Mandera West. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Supplementary order paper. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 48, I wish to move Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 48, I wish to move this motion in an amended form. and the amendment is on the additional list which I've just tabled. And pursuant to the fund regulations, that the following constituencies, in accordance with section 43, subsection 4 of the National Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraph 5, 9 and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 262 plus the extra constituencies, 5 in one set, and the other set, which was 21 constituencies combined, be approved by the House as provided for, Mr. Speaker, in the order paper, because if I start reading this until tomorrow, and this is a very, very important, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a new format for the new members. And this is as a result of the work of the 11th Parliament when they amended and created the National Government Constituency Development Act of 2016. And Mr. Speaker, basically, this is a procedure. These members that we are approving this afternoon, they represent various shades in our constituencies. They represent people with disability. They represent our constituency officers. They represent both gender and all that. And Mr. Speaker, it is now a function of the House. And this shows transparency and accountability in the men and women who run our CDFs. Mr. Speaker, it's very good that we put the record straight, that members of Parliament have no role. They have no role in the management of these resources. If you look at the law, if you look at the Act, our work is oversight. And one of the functions of a member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, apart from representation, legislation, is an oversight. So we are doing an oversight. There are those, busybodies out there who misuse the corridors of justice and say, so there is nowhere you see in the trail of management of these CDS. Our function is that of policy, of making sure that if they want to, they say they will build a school in point X, that school is there. And the Speaker, now that the CDF function of the resource is so limited, and it's limited to specific functions, more so on the national government, that the function of CDF does not overlap with that of the county government, with that of the devolved government as stipulated in the Constitution and in the law. So there's no competition between the member of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I am sure before CDF and after CDF, the difference is there for people to see. Speaker, all the schools, primary schools and secondary schools you see built in this country are built by resources from the CDF. There are many, many students who have completed their schools and their colleges because they accessed bursary funds from CDF, Mr. Speaker. I want to speak as a living testimony of a member of Parliament who sees what CDF. 20 million and above every year the Member of Parliament gives to students. So it brought equity in our constituency, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, until last year, last Parliament, there was also discrepancy in how there was some constituencies were getting 200 million, some were getting 60, but we felt it last year and amended the law and said that all the 33 billion or whatever amount the national government allocates, we will share it equally above and using the number 290 constituencies. So that what Garissa Township receives is exactly what Mwingi Central of my friend Dr. Malyungi. And I'm very sorry. You know, you joined politics and we have not coached you. You know, you went to some areas that are not friendly. And I saw it in papers that you are being looked for by the police. But please, you know, next time, you know, when you get a mic, and when you're speaking the vernacular, you have to be very careful. But myself and the Honorable, my neighbor, will get the same amount of money. So there's equity. So, Mr. Speaker, this list is important. This is a list that once we approve as a House, the instruments will go to the Minister for Planning through the board. It will be gazetted, and then Honorable CS for National Treasury must, and I think is obligated by law, to release the first 50% money, because we need that money. It's the end of the year. January is coming. We need to pay bursaries. We need to build schools. There's a lot of rain. Some schools might be affected. So the emergency fund must be provided in good time. So, Mr. Speaker, this is important. I don't know who wants to become the next chair of CDF. You should have second. She'll be the one to second me. But because, Honorable Speaker, I want to give to Honorable Jude Jomo, because he helped us introducing interest rates, and I'm sure he's doing good work on CDF. No, I can't trust that member because he misbehaved, so he can even misbehave in the House, Speaker. So I ask Honorable Jude Jomo to second the Speaker. I have to be very careful. You can speak in vernacular.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The work that the CDF committees have done countrywide need not to be emphasized. The importance of CDF in the development of our country is obvious, and everybody can see what it has done. It is therefore very important that we approve these committees that have been presented to us, because these are the committees that ensure that these works are done and are done in a transparent way. Mr. Speaker, I know there are some constituencies which need to improve on how they implement their CDF projects. And I was shocked the other day when I was going through the papers and I saw one of a school sitting for KCPE in a classroom whose walls were open and without casting aspersions to anybody. I was just wondering whether the CDF in that particular constituency, and if there is, what does the CDF do? Because basically, for that classroom, it was a mud classroom. The walls were made of mud. And it did not require a lot of money, even if they were not ready to build a new classroom, to go out there and mix some more mud and create those walls again. Because those children were doing KCP, they were sitting for KCP in a very uncomfortable and cold environment during these rainy seasons. And I know maybe that could be a peculiar case. And I know CDF has done a lot of work. And I'm therefore hoping that these committee members who have been included in this list are people who are creative, people who are development-minded, people who are going to make sure that this CDF fund is going to bring development that is going to be tangible, that is going to be evident, that is going to be is going to make our people know that CDF is really going to help our constituents. We also know that it has done a lot of work in finance, giving bursaries for children from poor families to afford an education. And it is very, very important that we pass this so that as soon as this is done, they'll be gazetted and CDF can go back to work. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I second.
I propose a question, and I think it is telling, but let me propose a question. That pursuant to the provisions of Section 43, subsection 4 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act of 2015, and paragraph 5, in brackets, clauses 9 and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 262 plus the additional 26, making a total of 288 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 7th, 2017, and as amended by the leader of the majority party in moving the motion. Honourable members, I do not intend to read the names of all the 288 constituencies. It's for that reason that I urged every member to be present, because it is you who knows, or you yourself who would know if there are any discrepancies. The lists are as tabled and contained in this supplementary order paper, and further as amended by the leader of the majority party in moving. So that's the question for debate now. Honourable members, what? As every member of the 288, I don't know who are the two constituencies that are still in bed, or they are still in the resistance forest. Which are the two constituencies which are still in the forest? Is it the mood of the House that I put the question? Let me hear the member for Kwanza. Kevin Wanyonyi.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that members are given time to talk, because I think you know, out there, people don't even know that the CDF actually has done quite a things in the constituencies, the developments that you have seen around. So it is good for us to take time to talk about it. There's nothing wrong. What's the hurry for? So I suggest that, Mr. Speaker, we give ourselves time to talk about and debate about it. Right. No, Mr. Speaker, we should actually ventilate on this. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have looked at this list, Honorable Speaker, and I've noticed that for my constituency, Luanda, they have used the list for the last list that was brought here. Some of these members, one of them has actually died. So we'll need to amend. I've spoken to the CEO of the CDFC board, and he has told me they are bringing the proper list in the next few minutes. So, Honorable Speaker, I need your protection from the Honorable Savula, because this list has just come to this House, and I think that is why you've given directions that we look at this list, and so that we can we can make this amendment.
No. I think let's be very fair. We must be very fair.
We need to be fair. The Honorable Sabula.
If the Honorable Christopher Omlele is saying that he has looked at the list from his constituency, and he confirms that one of the people whose names appear here is dead, this table, see, honorable members, it's also fair to appreciate. This list was tabled yesterday. There are still amendments which have even come when we are still sitting, additional constituencies, which is the reason I'm saying every member should look at their list, and there's nothing wrong with you pointing out areas that you may want amendments to be made. I have since been informed that indeed it's the remaining two is one, they held their elections yesterday, Kitutu Chacha South, and the other one is Rangwe constituency. So I don't know whether the NCO in the, is it Rangwe, there's no forest near Rangwe. But Honorable Leader Majority, maybe you can address this point raised by the Honorable Mulele.
Mr. Speaker, procedurally, the CEO of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, on a reference letters, upon following the law, submits this list to the clerk of the National Assembly for onward tabling and for the debate. In fact, Mr. Speaker, in my honest opinion, with your guidance, a member of parliament cannot amend this list. Amendment can only take place at the board, because even how this membership is elected is stipulated in law. And there is specific elections that took place. So, Honorable Omulele, you have to live with this. We will pass this list. Then, as when you sort out, then your list can come back, and we will approve it. Because these are 287 constituencies. In fact, it's an indictment on your fund manager, it's an indictment on your DC, it's an indictment on the CEO board to send a name to this house of a dead person. It's an indictment, in fact, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, if I look at this list that is sent to the clerk, and based on the law, even today myself, I cannot, I think, alter an election that took place in Garissa Township. So, Mr. Speaker, or any other constituency. So I think, Speaker, you need to give direction, because do we have the powers to amend a name? I don't think, Mr. Speaker, whether, because we are not even, we are not supposed to participate in the process that, that bring these names to the House, Mr. Speaker. So we need to have a direction.
Let's hear the Honorable Omlele.
Honorable Speaker, the Leader of Majority did not hear me correctly. My point was, the proper list was brought to the board. The board has made a mistake. They are correcting it. They have the proper list. They have informed me. I've spoken to the CEO. He has informed me. In fact, I just went behind the room here, and I spoke to him. And he told me the list will be here in less than 5 minutes. So they got the right list. It is not my manager who has made a mistake. It is the mistake of the board. And they are correcting it. They are bringing the proper list. They have the proper list. So they are going to bring it within the next few minutes. But I will be guided I'll be directed by the Speaker.
But if the CEO of the board says that he's submitting the correct list, you know, it can only come by way of, it can only, after this motion is carried, it can only come afresh. Maybe when we are approving the other two, yes. Yes, Honorable Maore, what is your point of order?
I think we better have some respect for the House. If the list has been brought and there are faults which are being owned by the CDF board, it is upon us as a house. We don't drag it to some disrepute by passing it the way it is anyway, and then we deal with the consequences. The best idea would be for the member himself to seek the indulgence of the chair and moves an amendment that when we finish with this list, we omit that constituency so that it can come at a later date. Yes, because the House cannot just to pass the way it is. It is a very wrong notion.
Absolutely, absolutely. If the House... Yeah, yours is number what? It's number 40? Absolutely, what the Honorable Maura is saying is indeed correct. Even when you talk about an error on the face of the record, you don't also make a mistake which you know.
The list for my constituency is number 42, page 084. And I want to agree with my brother, the Honorable Maore, that we as a House of Record, we would be remiss if we passed a list that we know that one of the members that we are passing has passed on. So I think the correct thing to do, Honorable Speaker, would be for us to omit or to exclude my constituency, Luanda, for the time being, so that it can be brought back with the correct list. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Savula is a child of my constituency, and he's he originates from Luanda, and he's here saying that the people of Luanda should not have a CDF. But, Honorable Speaker, I would seek the indulgence of the Speaker that that this list be amended by omitting this constituency number 42, Luanda constituency, from the present list, so that it can be brought at a later date.
Very well. I see the Honorable Member for Lugari is supporting you. Are you supporting his amendment? Honorable Safula, he has moved his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a senior deputy minority leader,
why senior?
On the NASA side,
we have not yet created that position of senior minority deputy leader. But we have a position for deputy minority leader.
Thank you.
It's only that we have not made it senior.
Thank you for the guidance, Mr. Speaker. I support Honorable Mulele's amendment, and I propose, I would wish that Honorable Mulele expunges the entire list, then submit afresh when we have the other three. Yeah, for the Muhaya, for the Luanda constituency. I second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I therefore propose a question that the list be approved, subject to omission of constituency number shown as number 42, Luanda constituency. The list be approved, be amended by deleting constituency number 42, Luanda. I put the question that the list be amended by deleting Luanda constituency shown as number 42. Will as many as other opinions say aye? Aye. As many of the counter opinions say nay. The ayes have it. I now put the question, honorable members, that pursuant to section 4, just a minute. Pursuant to the provision of section 43, subsection 4 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015, and paragraph 5, in brackets clauses 9 and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of the nominees for appointment to the following 288 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 7th, 2017, as subject to deletion of Luanda constituency, be approved. Will as many as what opinion say aye? Aye. Those who are contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
This one, the last page.
Next.
Order number 17, motion, adoption of sessional paper number 7 of 2016 on the mining and minerals policy.
Leader majority.
Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts sessional paper number 7 of 2016 on the mining and minerals policy laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, October 11, 2017. Speaker, Kenya is rich in mineral resources with known deposits of soda ash, fluorspar, titanium, gold, coal, iron ore, and limestone, silica, and many others. The country is potentially rich in rare minerals, Mr. Speaker, and increased exploration is expected to lead to a new mineral discoveries. Speaker, the economic development strategies pursued by this government over the past decade since independence did not give key priority in terms of the development of the country's mining and the mineral resources sector. As a result, Mr. Speaker, the country's mining and mineral resources sector failed to attract the necessary adequate investment from both government and private equity, and its contribution to our economy, Mr. Speaker, has been minimal, currently standing at 1%. Mr. Speaker, the mining sector is mainly based on the Mining Act Cap 306, enacted way back in 1940, meaning that the industry was operating within a very old, archaic legal framework, which was out of touch with the Constitution and the current industry. The Mining Act of 1940, for instance, Mr. Speaker, did not cover under its jurisdiction the several minerals that are found in our country. The situation analysis file, Mr. Speaker, indicated that the industry was separately regulated by the Diamond Industry Protection Cap 310 and the Trading in Unworthy Precious Metal Act of 309. Mr. Speaker, high economic growth rates envisaged under the Kenyan Vision 2030 includes the contribution from the mining sector. The sector is a priority under the economic pillar of Vision 2030. Its contribution to the GDP is expected to increase to 10% by 2030, making mining a key driver of the economic growth and transformation. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the mining and minerals policy of 2016 is expected that it will enable the country obtain maximum benefits from its future mineral deposits. So, Mr. Speaker, this policy Madam Speaker, you'll forgive me.
You are forgiven.
I assumed the Speaker was still there. Madam Speaker, this policy comprehensively addresses now the gaps that exist in the mining sector and provides a basis for reviewing the sector almost all its entirety. Mr. Speaker, the 11th Parliament in its wisdom passed the Mining Act 2015, one of the most robust pieces of legislation which can help in the growth of the mining sector, its role in terms of pulling together the private investment equity. And Mr. Speaker, the overall goal of the mining and mineral resources policy is to get framework, is to get principles, and is to get strategies to provide for the exploration of minerals for the country's economic growth. If you look at the key highlights of this policy, what are the key objectives, Madam Speaker? which I want to leave it to for Honorable Gikaria, who will second to deal with it. But among it is to promote the international and the regional cooperation in the management of mineral resources, is to respect our socio-cultural values. The communities where these minerals are found, they must benefit, their socio-cultural values must be respected, they must access justice, they must access gender equity and inclusiveness, so that's what the policy is talking about. Speaker, Madam Speaker, this policy also promotes value addition. How do we change, how do we introduce value change so that our own minerals plus the value addition can earn us more income and more bigger contribution to the GDP. Madam Speaker, the process of preparing and formulating of this policy involved the analysis of the prevailing situation in our country's mining industry, and of course it assessed and it done a review of the factors that influence this particular sector. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the policy provides a firm foundation and basis for establishing an enabling framework for acceleration and sustainable development of the country's mining and mineral resources sector. It will ensure the benefits from this growth of the sector is accrued and is shared horizontally across all stakeholders, and that it will regulate the rights and the interests of all kinds of minerals, including the construction and the industrial mineral rights. With those my remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to move and ask Honorable Gikaria, member for Nakuru Town East, to second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Rightly, as the majority leader just indicated, I think the mining sector in this country is very important. And some of the key highlights for the mining sector, just as the majority leader said, is that it was envisioned in the Vision 2030 that the mining sector, a very important sector in this country to raise the economy of this country. And it has, if of course we passed the Mining Act in 2015, of course now upgrading it from the very old acts that we had. And I think some of the key areas that needs to be looked into is one of the long-term policy direction and the legal framework. But Madam Speaker, you'll notice that before it was a haphazard way of handling the mining sector, but now we have a legal framework that is going to address some of these issues. Provide a strategy for clear, simple, predictable and transparent, accountable licensing procedures. Madam Speaker, before, and you remember in the past, the licensing procedure was on a hazard, but now it has been streamlined by the policy where licensing has a procedure that is going to be followed. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, the policy provides for a well-structured, globally competitive fiscal regime. And this has always happened. Madam Speaker, we have moved from just, mining and selling the raw mine as it is. So we want, of course, like the exploration that was done for the petroleum, instead of selling crude oil, we can be able to refine that and get the different gas or petrol that we can get from the crude oil to be able to globally compete for a very, very important product. Also, Madam Speaker, it also enhances the acquisition and processing of dissemination of geological and mineral data and information to investors and other key stakeholders. And I think this is a crucial point that, Madam Speaker, we need to look at. Madam Speaker, it also provides for a strategy for marketing. Madam Speaker, it is, of course, marketing, promotion, and value addition. Madam Speaker, it is, as a country, for us to move to that level of an industrial nation, then we need to also start thinking of value addition of the minerals that we will be.
Other members, the far back, please, can we allow the member to second, and you'll be heard in silence. Do your consultations in a low tone.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The marketing, for example, is very crucial for us, that we don't want just to involve ourselves in mining and then we don't have a place where we can be able to take that product. Mining, the value addition for that product will go a long way in trying to attain the Vision 2030. Madam Speaker, there is also the mobilization of resources. Madam Speaker, this is a sector that requires a huge amount of resources for it to be able to attain its objective. And so we need mobilization of resources from, of course, our partners, international partners, and the local investors who can be able to assist the government to be able to attain the Vision 2030 in terms of, the mineral mining and its creation of wealth for this country. Madam Speaker, we also say that this policy will provide for a framework of harmonizing legislation relating to mining, health, occupational safety, and environment. Madam Speaker, it's also important for us, much as we go around the aspect of mining various different types of minerals, that the safety aspect of the miners is taken into consideration. The environmental issues are also taken, and of course, the health aspect of the miners is also taken into consideration. Madam Speaker, we also, this policy will provide for a framework of gender mainstreaming, provide for a framework of mainstreaming of activities, Madam Speaker, for those small-scale miners. Madam Speaker, we are talking about mobilization of resources for, huge quality of quantities of different mining. But at the same time, Madam Speaker, we don't want to forget those local miners somewhere down at the western province of this country, where they do mine gold, and we would want to provide to them the activity of, for the small miners, and also provide some resources for these small-scale miners for them to be able to earn a living and, of course, attain the greater goal of economic development. Madam Speaker, this policy also provides for a framework to promote and facilitate local participation and investment in mining ventures. Madam Speaker, it has always come to our attention that every time we have exploration has been done and a certain mine has been identified in a certain area, we only get international investors or people coming outside this country. Of course, when they do business, most of the profits will always be taken away. So the participation of the locals who will invest in the mining venture will go a long way to try and promote even the local resource. Of course, the law, Madam Speaker, you remember we have already passed under the Mining Act as to the percentages of how much that even at the county level, if a mine has been identified in a certain area, there is a certain percentage that will go to that county to be able, as a revenue base for that county, to be able to develop that. But of course, it has had some issues, but we are happy that so far, whatever has the percentage that have been given is actually being remitted to the respective counties. Madam Speaker, more importantly is the provision of a framework for equitable sharing of that mineral benefit between the national government and the county government. Madam Speaker, we had a problem. And this has, and of course, it was addressed again by this parliament in the 11th parliament about the percentages. And of course, one of the mining of the oil in Turkana County became a huge factor. And going by the percentage that was going to be given to that county, then other counties would not have benefited from that national revenue collection and be able to send that money for. So it is important that if, particularly for the governors, Madam Speaker, that if a certain mineral has been discovered in your county, please allow the whole country to be able to share. Because again, if we leave that county to be the sole beneficiary of that mining in terms of revenue and whatever is going to be gotten out of that, then, Madam Speaker, that important factor where, as per the Constitution, I know it says 15%, which will be sent to the county government. Of course, the Jubilee government has tried to be able to send almost upwards of 35%, but this would go a long way to try and improve the revenue of that. And it's also very important, Madam Speaker, and I remember as a member of Nakuru Town East, which is under Nakuru County, when we were talking about, we were trying to identify what is a mineral. And one of the aspects that was forgotten is the geothermal. Madam Speaker, in this parliament, I think we'll need to look at that critically, that Nakuru County has not been benefiting out of the geothermal, a very rich product that is going to transform this country, so that Nakuru County also can be able to, the geothermal can be identified as a mine, and Nakuru County can be able to benefit from that. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I second that, I second the motion. Thanks.
You second, very well. Honourable members, I propose the question, which is that this House adopts sessional paper number 7 of 2016 on the mining and minerals policy laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, October 11th, 2017. In the first one on my request list is the member representing the people of Tigania West, the Honourable Kanyuhiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on this very valuable topic. Madam Speaker, I stand to support the adoption of the sessional paper number 7 of 2016 on the mining and mineral policy laid before this House. Madam Speaker, the mining industry has been quite disorganized in this country. We do not even know what we have, because exploration is haphazard, and there is no systematic way of doing the business of mining, because we do not have a guiding policy. We need to know exactly what we have and map out these potential areas for mining, and therefore, through a policy, that is possible. There has also not been a structured approach towards the exploration in this country, and as you've heard several members in this House speak, most of the people who actually are the owners of those areas where we have the minerals do not actually benefit. So we need a structured way, and we need anchorage of the law. Although we have a mining act, this act is not anchored on any policy. So this policy comes in to support the act, as it were, and therefore guide in the exploration of the industry, as it were. Madam Speaker, it is important to have this policy because we need to explore the options for investments. We need to encourage private-public partnership in investment. We need to encourage the private investment. And private investors do not invest in things that they're not very clear on. So the only way we can do this is through having a policy that will guide them on what they need to do, and also clearly explaining what the government is supposed to be doing. Madam Speaker, we are in the age of transformation as a country, and we would like to use every resource that we have to transform this particular country. And mining is one of the industries that we need to explore so that we may understand what kind of resources lie under, and therefore we can use these resources to develop our country. We are at a point where we need to grow the country, and therefore we need all the resources. The other issue that is important, Madam Speaker, is the appropriate apportionment of value for the minerals that we have. Without a guiding policy, it may not be possible for us to apportion value, and people may not know what they have. As a country, we need to understand exactly what we have in different parts of this country, and therefore apportion value accordingly for us to better benefit the communities. and therefore resolve conflicts, because in most cases you realize people complain because they care. Conflicts arise because people care. And people feel denied when they have some minerals, and these minerals do not help them. Without a guiding policy, it is not possible for people to know, and therefore miners or explorers will just go to the ground and start doing their work without engaging the people appropriately. So we have policies and procedures that will guide on the engagement of the people. We shall resolve conflict before they arise. Madam Speaker, the process of licensing of miners has been very complicated. There hasn't been proper guidelines, and therefore this particular policy will support that particular direction as well. We also need support from Exchequer to support this exploration, and the only way we can do it is having a policy. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Supports. Very well. Very well. The member for Inkembe Central, the Honorable Iringo Kuban.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion on apportionment of sessional paper 20, a portion of the sessional paper number 7 of 2016 on the mining and the minerals policy. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, this policy, I support it because, Madam Speaker, mining is one of the unexploited resources of this country, whereby we don't know what lies underneath our land. And when we try to do it, sometimes, Madam Speaker, we are not, maybe we don't have the expertise, which has been stipulated very well in this policy, and also the benefits to the people who happen to be living in those areas where these minerals or these other products are got from the ground, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, even if we look at the structures of our ministries in the government, the mining industry is taken quite lightly, and it has got very few personnel and experts. And this policy it has stipulated very well that we need to have experts who will be manning the ministry, and also who will be able to see that the country benefits from the same, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, being a foreign exchange earner, minerals, Madam Speaker, if well exploited, will be able to mitigate or to supplement what we earn from tea, coffee, and other crops we export, knowing very well that here in Kenya, our country is seen to be an agricultural country. But of late, Madam Speaker, if we go to the happenings which have been happening of recent times, we can attest to the fact that we are also a strong nation, nation which has got a lot of reserves underground, but we have not managed to exploit them, Madam Speaker. Look at Turkana, Madam Speaker. In the short run, we will be, I think, the main producers of oil in Africa, or maybe ranking somewhere in the world. And this has taken time because our policies have not been in place. We have been just having a ministry in place, which it was just like a toothless dog with very little resources and other things, and also equipment to do the exploration, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we also need, according to the policy, we have the value addition framework, Madam Speaker, whereby what we explore, what we mine, what we get from the ground, Madam Speaker, we have ways and means of adding value to the same. If we are looking, when we get gold, we just don't carry the stone to another country so that it can be refined. When we get oil, we need to refine it so that it can add value, Madam Speaker. If we get any other, like titanium and other products, Madam Speaker, if we need to have the resources, we need to have the expertise, the machinery, so that we can also add value to the same, and that will be a more, we want to our foreign exchange earnings, other than exporting the same in its raw form, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the policy also gives the government or the ministry powers to be able to guard the local people from exploitation from the miners or the explorers, Madam Speaker. As one of my colleagues has said, Mr. Honorable Gekaria, my good friend, when he was seconding the motion, he has said that the locals sometimes don't know what is happening. They see white men or other people come with the machinery, with the rigs and other things. They start just digging in the ground, picking some soils and materials and going with them. Madam Speaker, the local authorities or our county governments, the people who belong to that particular area should be involved and they should be aware of what is happening. They should know what is their stake in the same, so that once that product has got there, as we passed in the last 11 Parliament, Madam Speaker, we then get their rightful share of the product. Because this is where exploitation comes, where middlemen come and just become brokers, and they leave the people destitute, who should benefit more from the same. Madam Speaker, the implements we use for mining are outdated, Madam Speaker. We need to have we need to have the correct implement. Therefore, in our budgets, according to this policy, Madam Speaker, we need to have a budget which will cater for all this, and make sure that once a certain process has started, it goes up to the end. And
your time is over. Members, maybe for reminding you that notwithstanding provision of Standing Order number 97.4, such a motion of the session paper takes 1 hour, and every member has 5 minutes for contributions. This is just for your planning. So we give the floor to County Women Rep for Lamu. The Lamu.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipatia hii nafasi na mimi kuchangia kwa mswada huu. Mimi naunga mkono huu mswada. Ni vizuri kuwa na mipangilio ndio tufaidi kwa lile tunalotafuta. Mimi mwanzo ningependa kuwashukuru ile kampuni ya Zarara ambayo iko Lamu. Wamejitahidi sana, wanakwenda mashinani, wanazungumza na jamii. So jamii at least Lamu East, Faza Ward, wanajua kile kinachoendelea. Naomba pia kampuni zozote zinazokuja Lamu kwa upande chochote wahusishe jamii vizuri. Pia kile kinachokupatikana katika kuchimba kiwe kina faida kwa jamii, maana vitu vingine kama ile mradi wa makaa Lamu umeleta shida sana, na viongozi waliokuweko labda walipitia walionyeshwa. Sisi tulioingia wote ni wapia kwa mradi huo. Tunaomba pia na sisi tupitie ile mipangilio yao, watuoneshe ule mradi kama una manufaa kwa jamii au hauna. So tunaomba watupe muda kama viongozi, na sisi tufanye utafiti wetu, wasitupeleke haraka vile mswada hiyo mradi unavoenda. So nataka viongozi na jamii mashinani wahusishwe vizuri. Ikiwa ni kitu kina faida, waambiwe kina faida hivi na hivi, na kama haina faida pia waambiwe haina faida hivi na hivi. Tusifichane, tuambiane mambo kinaga ubwaga. Asante.
Asante. The member for Kitui South, I can see your name here, but I can't see the owner. The Honorable Nyama is not in. Then and of course I'm advising members, if you're not in the house, for you not to confuse it, just remove your card. Then you can always insert your card when you're in the house, so that we don't get confusing the others who want to speak. The Honorable Member for Wajir North, Honorable Ibrahim. It's part of the orientation. We need to make a communication to this effect. The member for Turkana Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to add my voice on this issue. Madam Speaker, this policy will guide mining and minerals in Kenya. Madam Speaker, we are good in making policies. The problem we have in this country, implementation. Madam Speaker, We have many investors who have come to this country trying to invest in mining. But the problem we have here, the technology of this country, the processes of getting the licensing take a lot of time, Madam Speaker. And now that we have this policy, Madam Speaker, we expect investors to come to this country, to go to any part of this country, to invest in minerals, because by doing so, they will create job opportunities for the people in that area. At the same time, the economy of that place will improve. Madam Speaker, we have many minerals in this country, all that we have not yet exploited to the level that's expected as a second world country. Because, Madam Speaker, if you go to Turkana County, we have many minerals that if we are told this country will put this policy into practice, into implementation, the Turkana people will improve their lives, and also job opportunities will be created in that county, and the economy of that particular county will improve. Madam Speaker, as we make this policy, you must also consider the host communities, the people who are who have those minerals in the areas. I want to oppose what Mheshimiwa Karia was saying when he was quoting about the Turkana, the 15% to the county and the 5% to the community. Madam Speaker, we are not against sharing our resources with other Kenyans. What we are trying to say, Madam Speaker, that formula that was given here, when we are here, Madam Speaker, last year, we as members of parliament, we passed after lobbying and after consulting, we agreed on 20% for the county government and 10% for the local, the hosting community. And Madam Speaker, the reason why we are saying that the host community must be given a share, because some places like Turkana, Maasai, God has given them that mineral so that they can improve their lives, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when we are talking about those communities, we are talking about infrastructure, we are talking about schools, we are talking about development. Because those areas, Madam Speaker, a good example, I went to Nigeria, Madam Speaker, and I visited one of the areas that the oil is being manufactured, Madam Speaker. I'm telling you, Madam Speaker, that community is worst, and yet the oil comes from that area. So that's why we say here in Kenya, we don't want to repeat that kind of a mistake. We want where the mineral is, the host community, to be given a particular percentage of the revenue so that they can improve their lives, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, government and the county government must also empower the locals, give them loans or grant so that they can invest in mining. Because, Madam Speaker, it's not good for us to wait people from outside to come and invest in our own land when the government or the county government can give some loan to the locals so that they can do that mining business. Because, Madam Speaker, it makes no sense for us to have a resource within ourselves and we don't benefit from that particular resource. So, Madam Speaker, we want to encourage the government, both national and county, to see how to empower the locals so that they can get finance to do mining business. Madam Speaker, another issue that this policy has addressed, the issue of miners, the people who are doing this business of mining. Some of them die in the process of doing mining. And Madam Speaker, they die like dogs. We want to have insurance for the people, insurance cover for the people who are doing mining, so that, Madam Speaker, when they die, they can be paid. Yeah, those companies can be tasked to pay those people. Because, Madam Speaker, you saw what happened in Meru. Those miners died like dogs. So we want this policy to address insurance cover for all the miners.
Your time is over. Members, we are good in planning. Let me have the member for Kisaun. He has never made his maiden speech, and yes, just give member for Kisaun. And all members, I'm encouraging the members. You know, we are many. You're not like other times that you've not made your maiden speech. It's good to do it now. We are going for research. Yes, no, remember.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You just use the mic, yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to comment on this motion, adoption of sessional paper number 7 of 2016 on the mining and mineral policy. We as a country,
I hope I'm right that you've never made your maiden speech?
Yes, I've not made my maiden speech. So can I use this opportunity?
Go and interrupt, okay.
Thank you. First and foremost, I would like to say thank you to the people of Kisauni for electing me on 8th of August as a new member for the Kisauni constituency. For those who do not know where Kisauni is in Mombasa County, the county 001, which is under the governorship of His Excellency Hassan Ali Joho, or famously known as the Sultan. Kisauni is known for many of the good things and also of the bad things. And I will only want to mention the few of the bad things that are currently happening in Kisauni. Kisauni is known for the main big issue of the drug abuse. I think in the whole of Kenya today, Kisauni is the leading constituency in terms of drug abuse. We have the largest drug den in Kisauni in an area that is known as Magodoroni, which has been highlighted in many of the forums, but that will be discussed at some point when maybe I'll bring a motion to have this matter discussed to a fully logical conclusion, because we have youth who are actually ending up becoming zombies in that constituency of mine. We have the issue of unemployment, which is a mega issue. If you traverse Kisauni today, you will meet more than 2,000 to 3,000 youth on the road with a hope of maybe becoming a tout for hours, because that is the main source of income for them, and they call it unapewa squad. Sorry to use that word, but you have to get a squad, basically to do a 5-minute trip, and you bring the matatu back to the driver. Thirdly, Kisauni again is known by the issue of the squatters. Kisauni again, I think it is the leading constituency in the country where the number of squatters is the highest. We have a lot of land in Kisauni that is owned by private sector, but at the end of the day, you may wake up in the morning and you find your own land that you have a title deed has been invaded by squatters. And this has been going on for ages, and it is a matter that will require some attention from this House and the relevant authorities. Coming back to the matter of the day, adoption of sessional paper number 7 of 2016 on the mining and minerals policy. I wish to support this policy for many reasons. I, as a member of Kisauni, coming from the Coast Province, the old Coast Province, or the 6 counties of the Coast Province, the former Coast Province, are blessed with a lot of minerals. And I think the famous one is the Tayo mine that is being extracted from the Kwale County. And the mapping has been done in the various counties in that region, and we know what lies underneath. But the exploitation that has been going on, especially on the indigenous people of these counties, is really wanting. But I'm very confident that with this policy that we are adopting today, it will be the solution to address most of these issues that have been there historically, and we are looking at the future with a lot of promising, with a lot of hope that our people will not end up being exploited again. If you look at Voi, basically the Taita Taveta County, it is one of the counties that is richest in minerals. But today, those minerals that are extracted in Taita Taveta they have become a curse to indigenous Taita Taveta people. And
your time is over, but at the discretion of the Speaker, since you were making your maiden speech.
Thank you.
Can you let me give him 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for extending my time. What I was trying to say is, in Taita Taveta County, it is one of the richest counties in terms of minerals, Madam Speaker. But those minerals, they have actually become a curse to the people of Taita Taveta. And this was contributed due to lack of such policies, like the policy that we are adopting today. So I'm 100% and I'm very much convinced that moving forward with this policy, if it can be implemented to the fullest, I'm sure we'll be able to realize the fruits of our people. With that, I wish to second this motion. Thank you very much.
Yes, support the motion. Very well said. Let me give the floor to the Honorable Member for Tana River, the County Women Rep. I know the...
Okay, asante sana Madam Speaker. Nimesimama kwa kuunga mkono hii hoja kuhusu mambo ya mining. Madam Speaker, hili swala limenigusa. Kwa sababu sisi kule Tana River tuko na gypsum ambayo inatumika kutengeneza simiti. Wale wahusika ambao wanatengeneza simiti wametajirika kuliko sisi wenyeji. Kuongeza msumari moto kwenye kidonda, hao watu wakishachimba yale mawe hawazibi yale mashimo, wamekuwa wakiacha haya mashimo wazi. Kwa hivyo mifugo yetu kule, bahati mbaya iteleze, inakufa na maji ambayo yako ndani ya mashimo, hata wanadamu pia. Pili, mimi ningeomba katika hii policy waongeze swala la kuwa hao matajiri ambao wanachimba hayo mawe pia watu waachie wao wenyeji, angalau wafanyie kitu, jambo la kuwa wanaweza kushukuru kuwa hata sisi hii rasilimali yetu imetufaidi. Hakuna chochote wanaotufanyia, ni mawe wanachimba, wanauza simiti, wanazidi kufungua mitambo huku na kule, makampuni mengi. Sisi kule bado tubaki maskini. Tukijaribu kuzungumza nao, angalau hata hawezi kuona huruma, angalau waseme hawa tumeharibia ardhi yao, wacha hata tujenge hospitali, hata ka dispensary, angalau hata zahanati hata ya kweli inaweza saidia wenyeji, ndio tushukuru. Hawafanyi hivyo. Kwa hivyo muongeze katika hilo, hiyo pepa, hiyo karatasi, kuwa wae kama watachimba pale wakifaidi wao, mwenyeji pia afaidi. Na iwe kama lazima kuwa wakishachimba yale mawe, iwe ni hospitali, iwe ni shule, iwe ni matanti, wao wanaweza kutujengea. Na waache kuwa wajeuri, kwa sababu tumeenda kuwafuata kuambia kuhusu mambo ya kuziba yale mashimo yanatuathiri, wanatuambia hatutawapeleka popote. Na pia naomba watu wa neema watembee, waangalie kule hiyo kazi inakofanyika, huo uchimbaji kule nafanyika. Je, hiyo ardhi ama hiyo sehemu inalindwa kivipi? Kwa sababu mashimo kila mahali. Kama kule kwetu Cherdende wameweka mashimo, na Nigi wameweka mashimo, wameacha, saa hizi wamesonga, wamefika mpaka karibu na Madogo, wanachimba mashimo wakiwacha. Hiyo ni ardhi yetu, wanatuharibia. Si kwa sisi ni masikini, hatuwezi kuja kuanzisha miji mpaka kule, wanatuharibia ardhi. Kule tuweza kuja tukaanza miji na sisi kule. Tunataka kukua sisi kama county pia. Kwa hivyo watu wa neema pia waingililie hao watu wa kuchimba gypsum kule Chardende na Nigi, Amares, wameenda mpaka sehemu inaitwa Amares. Ni wanachimba mashimo tu wakiwacha ni kama ni ardhi ambayo haina wenyewe. Vijana wetu pia hawaajiri. Wakija kule wanakuja na watu wao tayari. Magari ni yao, wachimbaji ni wao, kila kitu ni chao. Kwa hivyo tafadhali mtusaidie hapo. I beg to onaunga mkono.
Aneunga mkono. Honorable member, we don't raise hands, and as yesterday we were given a communique that we need to have our machines, our cards in place.
Benefit the per person in the county. Secondly, Taita Taveta County is known very well because of its minerals. We hold gemstones and industrial minerals within the county. Our land mass, we want to say 80% is estimated to contain very precious minerals, which can be used not only to transform the county of Taita Taveta, but also to transform and to improve the economy of this country. Having said that, Madam Speaker, there are quite a number of challenges my people face on the ground. And these challenges range from issues of poverty. There's a very high levels of poverty within my constituency, issues around unemployment, issues around marginalization, as people strongly believe that they've been marginalized because one thing, the land is yet to be adjudicated. A lot of my land in my constituency that is not titled. So my people have sent me here with one mission, so that I can come here and discuss issues into this parliament for them to realize the benefit around what is available within the county. Now, allow me now to support this motion that adoption of session paper number 7 around mining and mineral policy of this country. I want to bring it to the attention of this House that these minerals that are available in the county, honestly, we have for the longest time. My friend, Honorable from Mwingi, mentioned that he's about to die before a kilo of coal is gotten out of their land. I can tell you, Madam Speaker, my people keep imagining that one day it will come a time that these minerals will be able to add value unto their life, because as we speak today, it is believed that the minerals that we have in the county do not benefit the locals. All of it benefit people outside the county. And I need to say that even as we think of passing this policy, which is a beautiful document, I know a number of things that are happening around mining. One, we've always gone out there and talked about investors. And we imagine that these investors must either come from abroad or, those people who have a lot of money. But I think as a government of this country, we need to have a clear policy that's...
But 2 more minutes, just for you. Give him the mic. Give him the mic. These mics are for. Give him the mic, yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I conclude, I just want to say that it is important, even as we look at this policy, that we look unto the community that lives around the mineral deposits. Because for sure, my county residents and my constituency feel so alienated by the fact that mining is happening, but directly benefiting our people outside the constituency and outside the county. I'll give you an example. Today we go to a place called Kishushe, where the biggest mining mineral deposit around iron ore is being mined. This is a place that has the poorest people around the county. There are no schools, there is no water. Every now and then they've been dreaming about Zima, and yet they have a lot of deposits that are benefiting people outside. And yet we believe if this policy is fully implemented, then my people around Kishushe, around Taita Taveta County will stand to benefit. And therefore I stand to support the adoption of Session Paper 7 of 2016 on mining and mineral resources. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Spoken. The Honorable Member for Roiro. Kingara.
Asante sana Madam Speaker kwa mwanya kuweza kuunga mkono. Nikiguzia Madam Speaker, utakuja kuona Kenya inasemekana ni eneo la ukulima. Lakini ukiangalia orodha ya madini yaliyoko katika Kenya yetu, kusema kweli ni mengi kuliko ule ukulima tunafanya. Ukianzia na theluji, uje petroli ile imepatikana juzi, dhahabu iko, titanium iko, hewa ya uwekezaji iko, na unakumbuka vile vile mvuke katika eneo la bonde la Ufa umechangia pakubwa sana kwa umeme. Ombi langu, wakati tunajaribu kujadili na kuweka uzito mikakati mwafaka yatakayo tumika katika Kenya yetu mpya, ni vizuri vile vile tuchukue uzito wa uchimbaji wa madini kama jambo kubwa la kuleta mapato katika Kenya yetu. Ukiangalia yale maeneo au nchi zile zimeendelea zaidi, ni zile zimeleta zimeweka uzito katika uchimbaji wa madini kama petroli. Ukiangalia bonde la uko pande za Uarabu, utakuta hawana chochote kingine, ni madini, na yameweza kutumika na kuleta maeneo hayo kama maeneo ya kutambulikana dunia yote. Lakini la muhimu, hata kama tutaweka uzito uchimbaji wa madini, ningeomba vile vile wapangaji waangalie kiini hasa kile kinachangia pahali kuna madini mengi. Watu wa hapo ni wanyonge sana, na ndio tusije tukaingia katika hilo shimo. Tutengeneze mjadala wetu tukihusisha wale watu wako pale chini, kama wale wameongea mbele yangu wamesema. Ni vizuri wale matajiri wakati wametajirika, nalo eneo lile limefanya watajirike, litajirike. Lakini ukitafuta usawa wa pahali madini yametoka na pahali yanaenda kuendeleza, hakuna uhusiano kamwe. Na ombi la watu wote wale wako maeneo ya madini haya, ni vizuri wahusishwe kabla hata madini hayajaanza kuchimbwa. Na tukifanya hivyo, Kenya yetu itakuwa ya kuheshimika. Kenya yetu itakuwa katika mlengo wa mbele wa dunia, pahali madini yamekuwa ya kuleta utajiri, lakini si kumasikini na vita. Asante, na nimeunga.
Honourable members, as I did indicate before, that for the session paper we have 1 hour, and now it's 17:25. It's time for the mover to reply. And before the mover comes to reply, honourable members have a communication from the chair to make. And this communication from the chair on correction of the statistics regarding the number of constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund approved by the House this afternoon. Honourable members, before we adjourn the House, I wish to confirm that the actual number of constituency committees approved by the House today in respect of the 267 constituencies and not 288. The number includes the additional list for 5 constituencies received in the course of the sitting and subsequently included in the motion. The record of the House should therefore reflect accordingly. I thank you. Signed by the Honorable Justin B.N. Muturi, EGH MP, Speaker of the National Assembly, today, the 8th, 2017. Of course, why I'm reading this is because this House of Records, and remember, before the mover is called upon to reply at my discretion, let me give 2 members 1 minute each. At my discretion, 1 minute each. Honorable Tharaka.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And I got 1 minute to support the sessional paper on mining policy. In my support, I must state that Kenya has never had a mining policy, in spite of having a few statutes that govern our mining laws. I believe some of these are the statutes that we inherited, possibly from the colonial government. They are quite anachronistic, and therefore, this is the right time to bring a policy that would govern our mining industry in the country. I support this again because I come from the Raka constituency, which is one of the constituencies in Kenya very well endowed with minerals. In the Raka, you will find iron ore, you will find copper, we got gemstones, rubies, and other precious stones. Once a policy such as this is put in place, I am certain that we will develop the industry, and this will be for the benefit of the people of Kenya in general, and in particular for the benefit of the people
of the Raka. Kaiti, 1 minute. 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this chance you have given me. Let me take this opportunity to support this motion. First, because mining is a very important in our country, and especially where I come from in Kaiti constituency, we have minerals, and I feel bad sometimes when I see the people of Kaiti being misused by the investors. Sometimes they come and they mine, and they leave our people with a lot of poverty due to lack of good policies. So, Madam Speaker, I stand to support this motion, and as a government, as a country, we need to support this motion, and we need to involve our people, do some sensitization, so that we can make this mining as we can give it support, because it will improve our economy. It will also improve education in our country.
Kiaru, 1 minute. Kiaru, representative, the Honorable.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support, but coming from Muranga, Madam Speaker, it's good that I add my voice in respect to the water we give, especially to our capital city. And I hope going forward, even as I support the mining and minerals policy, maybe going forward, we should be treating water that we give even to our capital in the same manner, so that our people in Muranga can always have water even before they donate to the capital. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I would wish to support, knowing too well that minerals and mining account for only 1% of our GDP. I am sure we can do better and not become a curse like a DRC, who are even having mineral deposits worthy more than 24 trillion USD. This is the poorest country on earth. I am sure we can chart a better way, especially having better and very...
The leader of majority is here to reply, and you are getting discretion. Of course, I know the members, they were willing to give their contribution. Kitui South, we have Olens Senkok, Machakos County, member for Kishugu, Mwingi North, Lurambi, Bumula,